In the far edge of the galaxy, there was a space station that floated like a giant ring of silver. Inside, the biggest event in the universe was about to begin. It was called the Galactic Summit. Leaders from more than 100 alien species had gathered. Some were tall with shining blue skin. Others had wings, horns, or eyes that glowed in the dark. They came in silence, dressed in robes, armor, or strange suits. Everyone in the room was powerful, and yet they all looked nervous. At the center of the great hall was a round table made of black stone. It had one empty chair. All eyes kept turning toward it. It was not just an empty seat, it was a symbol of fear. That seat was for the one species that had never been allowed at the summit before. A human. Whispers filled the air. "Why is a human coming?" One alien hissed. "They are not ready," another growled. "They are dangerous," a third muttered. Many nodded in agreement. Humans were still new to space. They had only started exploring the stars a few years ago. Yet now, one of them was coming to speak among the most powerful beings in the galaxy. No one knew why, and no one liked it. The doors at the back of the hall opened with a slow hiss. A ship had docked. Heavy footsteps echoed through the metal hallways. Then he appeared. He was tall, but not the tallest in the room. He had no claws, no glowing eyes, no wings. He wore a simple dark uniform, and his face was calm. Too calm. He walked with slow, steady steps, eyes looking straight ahead. He said nothing. The hall went silent. Even the air felt heavy. The human stopped at the edge of the table. He didn't sit. He just looked around the room. One by one, the alien leaders met his gaze. Some turned away. Others stared back, unsure why they felt cold inside. Without warning, one alien jumped to his feet. He was from the Icaran race, known for their sharp minds and sharp teeth. His voice broke the silence like glass. "He must not speak," the alien shouted. "Stop him!" Chaos broke out. Several guards moved forward. Others backed away. A glowing force field flickered on and off. Shouts filled the room. Some aliens yelled in their own languages. A few pointed weapons. Others simply stood frozen, afraid of what might happen next. But the human didn't move. He didn't flinch. He simply stared at the Icaran, who had screamed. The look in his eyes was not angry. It was calm. Too calm. That was what made it scary. A small alien with silver skin whispered to her neighbor, "Why are they so afraid of him? He hasn't even said a word." The neighbor didn't answer. He just shook his head slowly. Everyone could feel it. Something was wrong. Something was strange. It was like the human was carrying something inside him that no one could see. Then, the lights flickered again. For a second, everything went black. When the lights came back, the human was still standing in the same place. But now, the fear in the room had grown. A few leaders whispered into their translators. A few guards looked to their commanders for orders. Still, no one dared to make the first move. The Icaran leader pointed a shaking finger. "He has the voice," he said. "He knows the word." That made everyone freeze. The voice? The word? No, one knew what it meant. Not exactly. But old stories told of a sound, a human sound, that could change minds or break machines. It was only a myth, most believed. But now, the myth stood in front of them, breathing, silent. The human's mouth opened just a little. The Icaran leader screamed again, "No, don't let him speak." But still the human said nothing. His eyes moved slowly across the table, looking at each leader. It felt like he was weighing them, judging them, even without speaking. Then, he sat down. That was all. He just sat in the empty chair, folded his hands and waited, like it was the most normal thing in the world. But it was not normal. It was the most dangerous moment the summit had ever seen. And everyone knew it. The room stayed silent. No one knew what would happen next. No one knew why the human was really there. But one thing was certain. He hadn't said a single word, and yet the galaxy had already begun to shake. The human sat in the chair, silent. Around him, the most powerful aliens in the galaxy watched closely. Some glared with suspicion, others stayed quiet but alert. The room was still tense like a storm waiting to explode. Everyone was thinking the same thing. What will he say? And what will happen when he does? But the human just waited. The leader of the summit, a tall alien with green crystal skin, finally stood. His voice was deep and slow. "You are the first of your kind to sit at this table," he said. "But your presence has caused fear. Why?" The human looked at him, still silent. Another leader from the planet Xuron leaned forward. "Is it true?" she asked. "Do humans carry a word? A sound that can control minds?" The human raised an eyebrow. He gave a small smile, but said nothing. The room filled with whispers again. Some called it a trick. Some thought he didn't even understand their language. But others believed he was waiting for the right moment. The Ikaran leader, who had shouted earlier, was still shaking. "I know what I saw," he said. "My great-grandfather told me of a planet destroyed by a human sound. He said it made machines break, made warriors fall asleep. It was just one word, one single word." One alien laughed. "Stories for children," he said. "Ghost tales from the past." But the human turned his head and looked at him. That small look was enough to make the laughter stop. Finally, the human spoke. One word: peace. It was quiet, calm, simple. But the moment he said it, something strange happened. The lights flickered again. The air seemed to hum. A small alien in the corner dropped his translator and held his head. "What was that?" the Xuron leader whispered. The human leaned forward. "You fear the word, but you don't even know what it means." Several aliens stood up. "Do not speak again," one shouted. "Your voice is dangerous." Another one stepped back, touching a hidden weapon on his belt. The human raised both hands slowly. "I came to talk, not to fight." The crystal-skinned leader stared at him. "Then explain why you came. Now." The human nodded. "Earth is small. We are new to space. But we are not fools. We know war. We know pain. We also know something most of you have forgotten: how to listen." Some aliens looked confused. Others looked angry, but no one interrupted. "In your galaxy," the human continued, "you have rules, borders, weapons, but you have no trust. That is why you fear one word." The Ikaran stood again. "Your kind hides something, a power. Admit it." The human didn't blink. "Humans do have something different, but it's not a weapon. It's something inside us. Something growing." "What is it?" the Xuron leader asked carefully. The human looked at her. "Curiosity." The room fell silent again. Where others see danger, we ask questions. Where others build walls, we explore. That is why I came here. Not to scare you, but to show you we are not your enemy. A long pause followed. The Ikaran didn't believe him. The Xuron wasn't sure. The crystal-skinned leader said nothing. Then, something unexpected happened. A hologram screen lit up in the center of the table. A message appeared. It was from a hidden source, unknown origin. The message was short, but clear. "Do not trust the human. He is not alone." Everyone turned. To the human, he looked confused. "That's not from me," he said. "I came alone." Another message popped up. "He carries something. Check his ship." Guards rushed out of the room toward the human's ship. The human stood slowly. "I don't know what they're talking about," he said. The Ikaran shouted, "Liar! This is part of your plan." But before anyone could move, the lights went dark again. In the silence, a voice echoed. But it wasn't the human's. It was a deep, metallic voice. He was only the beginning. The lights flickered back on. The human looked as shocked as everyone else. "I didn't say that," he said quickly. "That wasn't me." But no one believed him anymore. The guards returned, holding something they found in the ship. It was small, round, glowing blue, and it was pulsing. "What is that?" someone asked. The human looked at it. "I've never seen it before." But the device pulsed faster. The sound grew louder, and then it spoke. Not in human language, not in any known language, just one word. And when it spoke, the walls of the summit started to shake. The part the human had come to play was only the beginning. The device found in the human ship sat in the center of the Galactic summit table, glowing softly. Every alien in the room stared at it. No one spoke. The blue light pulsed like a heartbeat. The word it had spoken just moments ago still echoed. In their minds, though no one knew what the word meant. The human stood completely still. "That device is not mine," he said again, his voice firm. "I didn't bring it." No one responded. The Icaron leader stepped back slowly, keeping his eyes on both the device and the human. "It came from your ship," he said coldly. "That makes it yours. I don't even know what it is," the human replied. But the other leaders were unsure. Trust was already thin, and now it was breaking. The room was no longer a summit. It was a battlefield of silence, fear, and suspicion. Suddenly, the device began to rise from the table, floating a few inches in the air. Lines of glowing symbols appeared around it, symbols that no one could read. The air turned cold, and a strange hum filled the hall. A voice came from the device again, deep, metallic, and not human. "We have watched, we have waited. The doors are opening." The Xeron leader's eyes widened. "That's not a message, and it's a countdown." The crystal-skinned leader stepped forward. "We must leave. This summit is no longer safe." "No," the human said. "We can't run from something we don't understand." "What if it's a warning?" The Icaron leader laughed bitterly. "Or a trap?" Before anyone could argue, the walls of the summit chamber began to change. They rippled like water touched by wind. The black stone table cracked in the middle. Lights flickered once more, then shut off completely. Darkness. Then, stars. Not real stars, but a projection. The walls of the room had turned into a map of the galaxy. Everyone could see it. Thousands of stars, planets, and blinking red marks moving slowly across space. "What is this?" one alien whispered. The human stepped closer to the floating device. It reacted to him, spinning faster. More symbols appeared, this time forming lines that pointed to a section of the galaxy far from Earth, far from any known planet. The voice returned. "The locks are breaking. The barrier will fall. The first will awaken soon." The Icaron shouted, "Shut it down!" But no one could touch the device. Every time a guard got close, it pushed them back with invisible force. "This isn't just a signal," the human said. "It's a message for someone or something." The crystal leader asked, "Do you understand any of it?" The human hesitated. "No, but I think I've seen something like this before, on Mars, years ago." Gasps filled the room. "You brought ancient tech from your planet?" the Xeron leader asked, shocked. "No," the human said. "It wasn't ours. We found it buried deep underground. It looked dead. We thought it was just in a relic. But this is the same style, the same glow, the same voice." "Then it has begun," the voice said one last time. The device turned black. It fell to the table, no longer glowing. Silence returned, but this time it was heavy with fear. The crystal leader took a deep breath. "This meeting is over. We must return to our worlds and prepare." "Prepare for what?" the human asked. The Icaron replied, "For war." The guards moved in. They surrounded the human again. "Wait," he said. "You can't blame me for this. I didn't activate the device. I didn't bring it." The crystal leader stared at him. "But it spoke in your presence. And it responded, to you. That makes you part of it, whether you like it or not." They didn't arrest him, but they didn't let him go either. That night, in a locked room aboard the space station, The human sat alone. Thinking, he looked out the small window into space. Something had changed. Something ancient had woken up. And deep down he felt something stir inside him. A memory. A voice. A word he didn't know, but somehow remembered. He whispered to himself, "This isn't the end, it's the beginning." Far away on a dark planet no one had visited in centuries, a signal reached an old machine buried under the sand. Its eyes lit up for the first time in 1,000 years, and it began to move. Deep beneath the surface of a forgotten planet, something had begun to move. The ancient machine, once dead and buried under sand and stone, now pulsed with blue light. Its body was made of dark metal, shaped like a giant insect. Its eyes glowed, and symbols ran across its surface. The signal from the summit had reached it. Now, it was awake. The machine stepped forward slowly, shaking off the dust of centuries. The cave around it trembled. Other machines, still half buried, began to glow too. One by one, they came to life. Back on the Galactic Summit station, the human was still locked in the observation room. He stood near the window watching the stars. His mind raced with questions. What was the device? Who sent the message? Why did it feel so familiar? A soft voice came from behind the door. It was the Zuron leader. "We're not sure what to do with you," she said. "Half the council wants to send you back to Earth. The other half wants to keep you here. For safety." "For whose safety?" the human asked without turning. She didn't answer that. "We scanned the device again," she continued. "It's made from material we've never seen. Not even our oldest records match it." "That means it's not from now," the human said. "It's from before." The Zuron leader stepped into the room. "Before what?" "Before all of us," the human said quietly. "Before the council, before the galaxy was mapped." She looked at him. "You believe this thing is ancient?" "I know it is." "How?" "I saw it in a dream," the human whispered. "The night before I left Earth. A machine buried in sand, waiting." The Zuron leader frowned. "Dreams are not evidence, and maybe not," he said, "but sometimes dreams are warnings." Just then an alarm rang across the station. A red light flashed in the hallways. Guards shouted. Doors slammed shut. Something had triggered a high-level emergency. The Zuron leader tapped her communicator. "What's happening?" a voice replied. "Unidentified ships entering the system. Multiple signals. They match no known design." The human turned to her. "It's them." "Who?" "The ones that made the device. The ones waking up." The station shook. Everyone felt it. Something large had come out of hyperspace, the crystal-skinned. Leader sent a message to all council members. "Go to the war room. Now." The human was taken along. This time not as a guest, but as a possible answer to what was coming. In the war room, a giant screen showed the unknown ships. They were black, silent, and shaped like knives. No signals, no communication. They moved slowly but with purpose. "There are more waking up," one of the science officers said. "All across the outer systems. It's like they've been sleeping underground and are now rising." The Ikaran leader looked straight at the human. "What did your kind do?" "We didn't do this," the human said calmly. "But maybe we were meant to find it." The crystal leader spoke firmly. "This is not an invasion yet, but it could become one." The human stepped forward. "Let me go to them." Everyone turned to look at him. "Are you mad?" The Ikaran shouted. "They're machines, they'll kill you." "Maybe," the human said. "Or maybe they'll talk to me." The Zuron leader asked, "Why would they do that?" "Because something inside me is calling to them," the human said. "I feel it. They're not just machines. They remember something. Maybe they remember us." The council argued, but time was short. The machines were getting closer. Finally, they agreed. One small ship with the human inside was launched toward the nearest signal. As he flew through space, His thoughts were a mix of fear and strange calm. He remembered more of the dream now. A voice, not metal, not human, something in between. It had said, "You are the key. You are the echo." The human didn't understand. Not yet. His ship reached the edge of a dead moon. There, resting in a giant crater, was one of the machines. It looked like a tower with legs, half buried but glowing. The human stepped out of his ship. No weapons, no shield. The machine turned its glowing eyes toward him. Then, it spoke. "Welcome, Echo." The machine stood like a giant statue in the crater, watching the human with glowing blue eyes. Its voice was low and smooth, but it echoed inside the human's head like thunder. "Welcome, Echo." The human took a careful step forward. "Why do you call me that?" he asked. The machine's body shifted slightly, like it was waking from a long dream. More symbols lit up across its dark metal surface. Then, the voice replied, "Because you carry the memory. The signal reached you first." "I don't understand," the human said. "What memory? What signal?" The machine paused. Then it began to project a hologram, images in the air made of light and data. The human watched in silence. He saw a galaxy that looked like his own but different, older, unstable. Then came great wars, planets burning, stars exploding. Ancient civilizations rose and fell. Machines like the one in front of him were everywhere, fighting, building, and vanishing, into the dust of history. "We were created," the machine explained, "to protect knowledge, to wait until the stars were ready again. But our creators are gone. Now we search for the next voice, the one who remembers without knowing." The human looked at the machine, confused but curious. "You think I'm that voice?" The machine responded, "You are human. Your kind is new. But deep inside you, there is something old, a piece of us, planted long ago." The human stepped closer. "You're saying I have your memory inside me?" "Yes. Echoes hidden in your blood. Your dreams, your voice." Far away on the Galactic Summit Station, the Council watched from a hidden camera inside the human's ship. They saw everything. The machine, the lights, the conversation. "He's talking to it like they know each other," the Zuron leader said. "This is not right," the Icaron snapped. "This is a trick. He's one of them." "No," the crystal-skinned leader said calmly. "He is something else. Not machine, not threat, but connected." Back in the crater, the machine lowered its body closer to the human. It extended a long arm. At the tip, a small sphere opened. "Touch it," the machine said, "and the memory will return." The human hesitated. His fingers hovered over the sphere. "Will it hurt?" he asked. "Only if you resist who you are." He closed his eyes and touched it. At once, light exploded around him. He saw visions, stars, spinning, languages he didn't know, faces of people not from Earth but still somehow familiar. He heard sounds that shook his bones, and one word repeated again and again: "Echo, echo, echo." He fell to his knees. When he opened his eyes, the machine was quiet again. The light faded, but something had changed. The human stood slowly. He looked different, tired, but stronger, wiser. "I saw everything," he whispered. "Your creators, their fault, their plan. You weren't built for war, you were built to remember, to restart." The machine nodded. "We were the keepers, but we needed one who could feel and choose." The human looked up at the sky. "So you waited for us?" "Yes, and now others will come. Not all will understand. Not all will agree. But the choice must be made soon." "What choice?" the human asked. "To rebuild what was lost, or to repeat the end?" Suddenly, a warning appeared inside the human ship. A new fleet was approaching. Ships from the Icaron Empire. They had not waited. They had come with weapons, They're going to attack, the human said quickly. Then we must show them, the machine said. Not with force, but with truth. The machine began to rise into the sky, lifting the human in a protective field. Its body stretched tall, glowing brighter than ever. As the Icaron ships arrived, they saw the giant machine standing in the crater, weapons locked, missiles ready. Wait, the human said over the radio. Don't fire, but the Icaron commander shouted, destroy it. Before the missiles hit, the machine sent out a wave of light. It wasn't an explosion, it was a vision. Every pilot, every soldier saw what the human had seen. The old galaxy, the great fall, the purpose of the machines, the truth, and they stopped. Weapons powered down. Silence. Back at the summit, the Zuron leader whispered, he showed them. The crystal-skinned leader nodded. He is the Echo, and now the galaxy would never be the same. The Icaron ships floated quietly above the moon, their weapons powered down. Inside the lead ship, Commander Drax sat frozen in his seat, still, shaken by the vision he had seen. His soldiers whispered to each other, unsure what to believe. What did we just see? One of them asked. Drax didn't answer. His hands were still shaking. Down on the moon's surface, the human stood beside the ancient machine. Its glow had dimmed, but its presence still felt powerful. He looked up at the sky, at the ships that had almost fired. He knew it wouldn't be the last time someone tried to stop the truth. Back on the Galactic Summit Station, chaos filled the chambers. Messages came from across the galaxy. Other ancient machines had awakened too, in deserts, under oceans, inside mountains. They had started rising everywhere. Some worlds panicked, others sent armies, but some listened. The crystal-skinned leader stood before the council. The machines are not invaders. They are the builder's creations. They have returned because their time has come. The Icaran leader slammed a fist on the table. Or they have returned to take control. They didn't attack us, the Zuron leader said. They spoke. They shared knowledge. The human saw it. And now, so have we. The human returned to the summit a day later. He walked into the chamber calmly. The guards didn't stop him, this time. He stood before the council and looked at every leader. I have something to say, he said. Speak, the crystal-skinned leader replied. I saw the truth. The human began. The builders were not just one species. They were many. They came together to create balance in the galaxy. But they disappeared after one of their own betrayed them. Who betrayed them? The Icaron leader asked. The human looked at him carefully. A race hungry for power. They tried to control the machines that caused the collapse. Everyone in the room grew silent. The Icarons were one of the oldest species in the galaxy. Had they been part of that ancient betrayal? We don't know who it was, the human continued. But the builders hid their knowledge inside the machines. They left a message, not just for me, but for all of us. He reached into his coat and placed something on the table, a small cube. It glowed faintly. What is that? The Zuron leader asked. A key, the human said. It unlocked the full message. I saw where the builders stored the last part of their technology. A vault, hidden on a planet called Virex 9. The crystal leader's eyes widened. That planet is cursed. No one returns from there. It's not cursed, the human said. It's protected by machines. And you want us to go there? The Icaron asked. No, the human said. I want to go, but not alone. I want a team. One member from each race. No soldiers, just leaders, thinkers, seekers of truth. The room went quiet again. Everyone thought carefully. Finally, the Zuron leader stood. I will go. Then the crystal-skinned leader nodded. So will I. One by one, others agreed. Even the Icaron leader, after a long pause, gave a small nod. If this is truly about the galaxy, then we must all be part of it. Within hours, a special ship was prepared. Small, fast, and armed only with knowledge. The team was ready, as in They launched into space. The humans stood at the window, staring into the stars. Deep inside, the machines were silent again, but he knew they were still watching. The ship flew toward Virex 9, a dark world on the edge of known space. It didn't appear on many maps. Few had dared to visit. As they approached, storms covered the sky. Lightning cracked across black clouds. The planet looked like it didn't want to be found. "This is it," the human said. They entered the atmosphere, shaking violently. The ship almost broke apart, but somehow they made it. Below them was a massive valley, perfectly round as if carved by something large and powerful. In the center stood a single black tower half buried in stone. The vault. The human felt something in his chest, like a heartbeat that wasn't his. "It's here," he whispered. "The final secret of the builders." The ship landed. The team stepped out into the storm, unaware that something else had followed them. Not all machines wanted peace. Some remembered the war, and they were waking up too. The wind screamed across the valley of Virex 9. Black clouds spun above like a storm from another world. The human stepped onto the ground first, followed by the other leaders. Lightning flashed above the black tower, the vault of the builders. "No," one spoke. They all felt it, the deep hum in the ground, the strange pull in the air like the planet was alive and watching them. The tower door opened on its own. They walked inside slowly. The hallway was smooth and dark, made of black stone, and metal that didn't reflect light. Strange symbols moved along the walls, changing shape as they passed. The human stopped and touched one of them. A soft voice echoed through the tower. Echo recognized. Vault access granted. Lights flickered on, revealing a large chamber filled with floating orbs, machines, and books made of crystal. At the center stood a large device, part machine, part living core. It looked like a heart, glowing blue and silver. "This is it," the human said. "The builder's last gift." "What does it do?" the Xeron leader asked. "It can restart the galaxy," the human replied. "Not destroy it, but fix it. Balance the stars, heal dead worlds, erase weapons from existence." "Impossible," the Icaron leader muttered. "It's not," said the crystal-skinned leader. "This is power beyond war, beyond any one race." Just then, a deep sound shook the tower. A second door opened at the far end of the room and machines walked in. But these weren't like the others. Their bodies were sharp, red-glowing, twisted. Their voices were harsh. "Echo is not the only memory," one said. "We remember war. We remember power. We do not forgive." The leaders stepped back. The machines moved closer. "They're corrupted," the human said. Something went wrong. They chose destruction instead of memory. The corrupted machines raised their arms. Weapons formed from their bodies. The vault's light began to dim. The human ran to the core. "What are you doing?" the Xeron leader shouted. "I have to activate it," the human replied. "But it needs a final command. A living voice." The corrupted machines fired. A force field appeared around the human, generated by the vault itself. The blasts bounced away, but the energy was growing weaker. One of the machines broke through the line and aimed at the vault core. Before it could fire, the Icaron leader jumped in front of it, taking the hit. He fell to the ground, stunned but alive. "I believe you now," he gasped. "Finish this." The human placed his hand on the core. "You carry memory," the vault said. "But do you carry will?" "I do," he said. "I choose peace. I choose the future." The vault glowed brighter than ever before. A wave of light burst outward, passing through every wall, every ship, every world. The corrupted machines screamed and dissolved into dust. Across the galaxy, weapons turned into dust. Dead planets began to glow with life. Machines everywhere stopped moving, and then bent their heads like they were bowing to something greater. Silence followed. And then, peace. The human collapsed beside the core, his energy nearly gone. The leaders ran to him. "Is he?" the Xeron leader asked. "He's alive," the crystal-skinned leader said softly. But changed. The human opened his eyes. It listened to me. You saved us all, the Icaron leader said, holding his side. The vault core dimmed. The walls turned still. The job was done. Days later, they returned to the Galactic Summit. The council chamber looked different now. No more shouting, no more fear, just quiet voices, full of hope. The humans stood before the entire galaxy, now watching on screens and holograms. We are no longer many voices fighting, he said. We are one voice remembering. The builders are gone, but their lesson is clear. He looked at the other leaders. We must build, not break. Connect, not control. We were given a second chance. Let's not waste it. The crowd stood in silence. And then, applause. Loud, strong, full of feeling. The machines, now quiet and calm, stood in the corners of the galaxy, not as rulers, but as watchers. Peace was not perfect, but it had begun. And the human, the one they called Echo, looked up at the stars with a strange smile, because he knew this was only the beginning.